What's up, crypto paradise people? I'm Crypto Amaru. That is Crypto Hitman. It is Wednesday, June 26th. We want to talk a little bit today about market psychology. How do you survive these ups and downs, these periods of boredom from a psychological perspective? We'll also be talking about some recent news, developments, and where we see the market going. Also, quick reminder before we get started, we are hosting our very first Twitter Spaces tomorrow on Thursday. I hope you guys join. We want it to be a community event. We want to hear from you guys, your opinions about everything that's been going on. So that will be happening tomorrow. And with that, why don't we kick it off? So look, we're in I'd say, bearish period of the bull run, and it tests you. It absolutely tests your conviction, your patience. So, Nick, how do you survive these periods of boredom and bearishness?
Well, I think, if it was my first cycle, that's very hard. I don't even know if I did it well. And that's what's tough for a lot of people. They're coming into crypto, they're either fresh into it or they started in the bear market, or this is only really their first cycle. They got in at the top, they've ridden it down, and maybe they're finally starting to trickle back in now that Bitcoin is exciting again at $60,000. And you hear all this noise, all these different influencers, all these KOLs. Oh, they're making millions because they're showing you a Lambo. Understand that everybody else's life or the perception they want to sell you isn't your life. So you know where your portfolio looks like. You know where it started. Most of you, even though you're feeling bearish right now and it's rough times, your portfolio is still up since you got in. In the stock market, this is what I always remind myself. If people get 5 to 10% in the stock market in the year, they're happy. They're thrilled. So understand where your position is currently. If you put $1,000 in, you watch it go to 30,000, and now it's 15,000. You still got to understand you 15 extra money in the past 18 months. We have a lot of bullish things coming in the next 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months. And if you really believe in the asset, the volatility and the noise doesn't matter as much. I know we're all here to make money, but if you truly believe in blockchain and you think you're on the right side of history here and this is the opportunity, then you don't want to jeet out and panic when we're seeing a little bit of red. Understand that businesses like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, some of the biggest, Nvidia, the biggest stocks in the entire world all had 80 to 95% drawdowns at some point in their life cycle. So have conviction in what you're in, understand the volatility. Obviously, we like to take some profits before the volatility, but if it doesn't happen, add on to your bag, reduce that cost basis by putting in an extra $100, $1,000, $2,000, and let's see what happens here in the next couple months.
Yeah, I think you bring up some really good points there. Conviction, patience, some historical perspective is really going to help. The way I think of it is this is hard. And yeah, you see people that seemingly made money overnight. That's 99% of the time complete bullshit. Those people have taken tremendous losses before. They've probably been in the space for many, many years, and they kept plugging away and kept going, and eventually had a lucky streak, or they're just very good, and they finally hit it a couple times. So it's nothing's easy, and I almost you know I almost relish in these periods. I know it sounds a little crazy, because like who likes bear markets? But it really tests you. To me, it's like a challenge. It's like, can I make it through this? Do I have the fortitude and frankly the balls to get through these difficult points? Because to me, there is nothing easy in life. Nothing. Whether that's investing, whether that's work, whether that's relationships, whether that's family, everything takes work, effort, patience. There's no get rich quick. There's no shortcuts in life. And it's the same thing with crypto investing. So you got to have that conviction. You got to understand what you're in too. That's what you made a very good point. You have to understand what it is you're investing in, why you invested in it, and only then can you actually have conviction. If you just bought Bitcoin and you have no idea what it is, why it exists, well, then you'll likely just panic sell the bottom because you don't believe in the asset. The first thing I did after I put my first $500 or $1,000 into crypto back in 2017 was started to do a lot of research. I read into Bitcoin. I read into blockchain technology. I tried to understand as much as I could. And that's paid dividends for me because not only allowed me to get in the industry professionally, but it allows me to sort of weather these storms because I know that this asset is going to continue to grow and continue to appreciate over time, can you get adoption over time. So for me, it's almost becomes a bit easier to hodl through these dark and bearish periods.
Yeah, and like you said, understanding what you're investing in, whether it's Bitcoin, that's the king daddy, the new monetary policy and the transparency, immutability, all the way to the meme coins, where there's really no utility, but you're investing to be part of the community. You're investing in a narrative that you think other retail people will hop on board, and you're trying to front run that narrative. So understanding there's a big difference across the crypto ecosystem, but you still have to have an understanding and a reasoning for why you are choosing to invest in something, and then you will have conviction in it, or then you will be able to buy these dips and sell the rips rather than being the one buying the top and getting dumped on all the way down.
Yeah, education is key. Understanding what it is you're investing in. I'm glad you talked a bit about memes as well, because the same, like you said, the same concept applies to me. Maybe the sort of the factors that make a meme successful is different than what makes Bitcoin successful. What makes Bitcoin successful is just continued institutional adoption, mainstream adoption. Countries going to be coming on board like El Salvador. Obviously, the monetary policy of Bitcoin, the halving, so on and so forth. That's what drives Bitcoin. And there's no stop in the Bitcoin train, frankly. I think that's it's going to continue to get adoptions, continue to grow over time, but it's not going to be overnight, certainly, right? Nothing, again, nothing is fast, nothing is easy. And that's the story of Bitcoin. But for memes, you want to look at maybe some different things, right? Community, you mentioned, absolutely critical. Narrative. Is this something that makes sense to you? Is it going to make sense to others? Is it persuasive? Those are factors. Who's the leadership? Who's the team behind it? Same thing with altcoins, right? That are utility tokens, I should say. What is the utility? Is that product going to get adoption? Is that product going to drive, utility usage and buy pressure on the token? So there's different things to look at, but without that fundamental understanding of what it is you're investing in and why, you're going to panic sell. But conversely, if you understand what it is you're investing in and why, you're much more likely to hodl through these difficult periods.
Yeah, and I think what's pushing people now, obviously the market's red. We saw a Germany government sold 200 something, 400 something million in Bitcoin. Now the United States just moved 250 million worth of Bitcoin to Coinbase. People think they might sell. And this is going to test you and test your convictions. But understand that for Bitcoin, for example, and what these governments are doing, the institutions are now coming into play. We have the halving, we have pro Bitcoin presidential candidates. The governments don't want Bitcoin to succeed, and the Bitcoin they are selling is all free to them. It is taken from criminals in most cases, and they're just dumping it for free cash to use on what other nonsense the government wants to use. So you shouldn't let government selling discern your conviction in Bitcoin. It really should add more conviction because it means you are on the right side of history. And really, the core fundamentals of Bitcoin are standing true, and the governments want to see it fail. They think it's going to fail, and that's why they're letting go of the bags here that they got for absolutely free.
I take a different view on government. Every government's different in the sense of how they react and respond and view Bitcoin. Obviously, some governments are staunchly anti-Bitcoin and have tried to ban or have in fact banned it. China, as an example, although that's sort of questionable whether what their true view is on it. America, I think, is a little bit more nuanced. I do think there is a contingent of politicians that are anti-Bitcoin for sure. But then there's politicians that are pro Bitcoin responding to what their constituents want, So America's stance is a little bit more nuanced. But then you have countries like El Salvador, and I'm reading I just read this morning about another one, I think was Suriname, which is a small country in South America, that has a presidential candidate that is very pro Bitcoin. So I think you're going to see these emerging markets that have had Argentina, perhaps another example, emerging markets have had historical issues with inflation. Their own currency is questionable, and they're relying heavily on debt, so on and so forth. Perhaps they start to look to Bitcoin like El Salvador is doing to, bring in some capital, bring in some digital nomads, find a way to get a hard asset on their books, maybe move away from their own fiat currency eventually to some degree or another. I see that as kind of one of the long-term catalysts that not a lot of people are necessarily talking about. But I don't know if all governments are anti-Bitcoin. I think some, and we'll see what happens with the election. But I certainly think if Trump wins, you're going to see, first of all, the Bitcoin's going to pump and all these things are pump because the expectation is deregulation, bringing in some pro crypto people into positions of heads of this agency, that agency. So I think you're gonna see more positive moves if that happens. And even Biden, like they were the Dems were anti-Bitcoin. I think probably a lot of them are. Elizabeth Warren hasn't changed her view. Let's just be honest. But the politics are such that it's a losing issue for them. And so they kind of had to tack more towards the middle and not be so anti. And that's why you saw the Ethereum ETF go out. So I take a little bit more nuanced view on these on the governments. But overall, long term, I think it's inevitable. More adoption is coming, whether through governance, institutions, regular people, when it comes to Bitcoin.
Yep. My conviction is still here, folks. We told you, things are going to be a little choppy, sideways. The thing is, too, if you zoom out, Bitcoin's still above 60,000. So it feels doom and gloom because some of your alts are getting hit. But Bitcoin's still in the same range. It's following the same pattern it did the last halving cycle when we went from, $3,000 to 69,000. Now, where do we go? We started at 16,000. That's 4x higher. Do we go 4x higher than 69,000? I don't know. We'll see, but we are right on track. We still have the Ethereum spot ETF and the inflows that are going to go there. We've already talked about how I think that's going to affect Ethereum and altcoins and give us a little mini alt season. So I think right now, find the assets you like, double down on them. Find assets that maybe even produce revenue. I know utility tokens aren't hot right now, but that's when you get the deal. The revenue will push that token price higher in the future as long as they're using that for token buybacks, token burns, staking rewards. Projects with revenue, they can weather the storm. They can keep hiring people. They can keep paying people, and they can keep the project afloat cycle after cycle, which is how they keep making higher and higher highs.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of opportunities out there. I don't think this is a time to panic. If you have some fresh capital off to the side, you can find those utility token opportunities. Meme coins, certain memes are still doing very well. I think, as I learn more about the meme world, so much of it is narrative driven, right? You're seeing ones like Maganomics doing very well right now because I guess this, the upcoming election and the debate that's going to be occurring this week between Trump and Biden. You have certain other memes that if their narratives are strong, their communities are strong, should outperform. Conversely, you have a lot of memes which I view them as complete and utter copycats, and I don't have a lot of conviction in those ones. Maganomic comes out, well, so then Bidenomics comes out a few days later. How serious is that one if it's just a pure copycat? I don't know. Maybe that won't go distance. I'm not sure, but I prefer the ones that are a little bit slightly more original, maybe a first mover in a category, or first or second mover, not third, fourth, fifth, seventh mover. Because you have one that does well and 10 copycats will pop up. So you got to be a little bit wary there. But there are still plenty of opportunities, even in this bearish period of the market, to find, like you said, utility plays that are undervalued, memes that have hot narratives and good communities, or even just hodling and loading up on more Bitcoin and even Ethereum. I think Ethereum, one thing that happened is the market is just so impatient with the Ethereum ETF stuff. That news dropped, the approval dropped about 1 month ago. I believe it was the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. So end of May. We're now in end of June. So it's been a month. But in the crypto space, everything moves so fast. Everyone's like, a month. It's been so long. I'm getting bored. When's it happening? Is it happening? They start to question. They start to doubt. But the reality is, Gensler just came out. Head of the SEC just came out a few days ago in some interview and said it is moving on. It is moving along. He has every expectation that it's going to occur, and they're just putting all the pieces together, all their ducks in a row. And then you had the guy from Bloomberg saying July 2nd for his speculation is July 2nd for that final approval to occur. So it's right around the corner, folks. And you just be a bit patient. I mean, a month is not that long, people.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think Ethereum starts to outperforming Bitcoin once that ETH ETF is approved, and we're approaching really high Bitcoin dominance. So at some point there is an alt season. So I'm still sticking to $10,000 ETH by the end of 2024 and a $4,500 ETH or higher within 1 month of the ETH inflows starting. So that would be about a 33% increase within a month once the ETH ETF inflows start. So I mean, that's plenty of gains compared to stock market. You're not getting rich off 33%, but that's a great way to start bolstering your portfolio, and then you can start taking some of those profits and looking at some higher risk opportunities, maybe that you have a little less conviction on, or there is a higher flyer risk, but that is how you could hit it big in the crypto space.
Yeah, I think if you look historically here in terms of market ups and downs. This is apparently the fifth 20% correction on Bitcoin that we've had this cycle. That is very common and, in fact, normal and needed in a bull run because it clears out some of that leverage because people that are overextended, clears them out, allows time in the market to breathe, consolidate at a higher level. And then, it's only a matter of time before the market bounces back. You can look at the chart, the Bitcoin chart over the past year or so, and you have these, weeks where, down, 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 20% correction, and then consolidate for a little bit, and then boom, a violent move up. And then it, normally it keeps going even higher. So I'm fully expecting that to occur here. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we're not going to be down and sideways forever, folks.
I think that's all what we got. So hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And remember, we are giving away money and we are giving away trips to the Paradise Pad. Simply follow us, leave a comment, let us know if you're interested. We'll choose the lucky winners from the community, and that's just one way we like to give back here at Crypto Paradise.
Love it. All right, guys, we'll talk to y'all soon, and we'll see you on the beach.